We are an educational focused organization for our members who are managers or above at healthcare organizations. They don't all have to be health systems. They can be in other companies that are affiliated in the healthcare industry. And our purpose is to provide education, provide networking, provide help and support for people in their healthcare careers.
Welcome to the Business of Healthcare podcast from the Center for Healthcare Leadership and Management at the Naveen Jindal School of Management. Here at the University of Texas at Dallas, we bring together business leaders and other forward thinkers to discuss how best to meet the challenges of a rapidly changing, increasingly complex healthcare ecosystem. I'm Dr. Bob Kaiser, Director of the Master's Program in Healthcare Leadership and Management. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app to ensure you don't miss any of the future episodes. You can also join us online at businessofhealthcarepodcast.com. Today, we want to discuss healthcare leadership and management, lifelong learning, building trusted relationships, and networking. You might be inclined to believe we're going to discuss the graduate degree programs we offer in healthcare leadership and management at the University of Texas, Dallas. The topic of today is the American College of Healthcare Executives, also known as ACHE. And we are honored to have Aaron Bujnowski, the president of the North Texas chapter of ACHE, on the Business of Healthcare podcast. Welcome, Aaron.
Thanks, Bob. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Well, there's so much more than your role at ACHE. You're also the managing director and transformative strategy lead at Alvarez and Marshall, adjunct professor of strategy and marketing at Trinity University. A lot of different things in your background. And I have to admit that, I'm fortunate to finally meet you. I recently attended a very large event. We'll talk a little bit more in detail. It was an ACHE event called the Congress, and 4,000 people showed up for that. And it basically awakened to me. I've been a member of ACHE for many years. I've been running a program here at the University of Texas for the past 6 years, and we've had some interruptions with COVID that have kind of slowed things down. But, I've been in the shallow end of the pool when it comes to ACHE. And I just felt like I'd like to get you onto our podcast. So I reached out to you because if I have been in the shallow end of the pool and not aware of all the things that ACHE does and what they're involved with, I just feel like it's necessary to get the word out. And so that's what I want to do today. I want to really get into a deeper component of what ACHE is to educate our audience. And also, I want to find out how that's affected you and your role. And so to start with, why don't you kind of give us a background on your current role? What's your position right now at ACHE?
Sure, happy to do that. And by the way, it just makes me so happy that you've come to that new awakening or awareness of what ACHE does. Because what we do is just phenomenal for our members, and I think for the business of healthcare in general. And so currently, I have the privilege of serving as president of the North Texas chapter of ACHE. ACHE is a national organization whose members span the entire U.S. There are over 48,000 members across the U.S. We are an educational focused organization for our members who are managers or above at healthcare organizations. They don't all have to be health systems. They can be in other companies that are affiliated in the healthcare industry. And our purpose is to provide education, provide networking, provide help and support for people in their healthcare careers. Now, there are 76 chapters across the United States. And when you look at some of our numbers, across those 76 chapters, of which I am the president of the North Texas chapter, which is actually the second largest chapter in the country with nearly 2,000 members in our chapter. Across the nation, ACHE has provided over 300,000 hours of education and networking to its members. Some of the stats are we have almost 9 million web visitors to our content online. Again, we have almost 50,000 members across the country. And so we truly try to make an impact on these wonderful people who work in this this industry that is so vital and important to the health and well-being of our communities, and try to help them support them and train them in their careers.
I was trying to do a little bit of research to find out just how far back this organization goes. And I was surprised that it actually started back in 1933.
That's right.
A long time ago. And, the world was kind of going through some trouble back then, depression and all that. And other great things were started back then. The Securities Exchange Commission and FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the TVA. And then you guys were actually called the American College of Hospital Administrators. And you changed your name in 1975. So I felt like I was going a little bit deeper into the background, but you changed your name in 1975 to the American College of Healthcare Executives. And when IBM got started, there was a company called National Cash Register. And IBM said, we don't want to be national, we want to be international.
Right.
Instead of a cash register, we want to be business machines. So Adaptive Organization changed their name, just like I think Facebook changed to Meta and Google changed to Alphabet. So you guys changed to the College of Healthcare Executives. And that really reflect, I think, a more evolving role, a bigger role of the complexity of the healthcare world that we live in.
You're right. When I think about our ACHE vision statement, it is to be the preeminent professional society for leaders dedicated to advancing health. And so that change in the mid-1970s was to reflect this idea that it is just not about hospitals or hospital executives. It really is any leader who works to advance health. And of course, healthcare represents a very significant part of the entire GDP of the United States and has a tremendous impact on the lives of all of our citizens here in the country. Certainly, health systems and hospitals are a core component of that in each of the communities in which we operate. But healthcare is so much more than that. We have a very large physician contingent now. Of course, many physicians are becoming healthcare administrative leaders. But of course, the majority still remain as clinicians, treating individuals. But they are leaders and they are advancing health. And so we invite them to participate. There are many other support components, people who do medical devices or drug delivery, those kinds of things. All of those individuals would be invited to be members of ACHE because we all are working for that common good to improve the health of the people in those communities that we serve.
Well, I think that hits the nail on the head. Is that it's serving the community. With physician leadership, we have a program here called the Alliance for Physician Leadership, and we've observed that about 5% of the physicians are really they are physician leaders. And about another 15 to 20% are really strong influencers. They are really focusing on developing the leadership skills that are necessary for this complex world that's evolving. And the other 80%, 75 to 80%, they're practicing doctors. They're doing the work they're called to do. When I first heard about the executive component, executive was kind of a scary thing. Like, these guys are they're the big tunas, they're the big shots. These guys are all high level people. And I'm finding, like you just described, that it really covers a broad base of management and leadership. And something I was surprised about, Aaron, was the depth and dimension for students. So tell us a little bit about the student memberships and chapters and your internship programs and those types of educational resources to get the next generation going early on.
Great observation. When I look at the statistics of the 48,000 members we have nationally, about 8,000 are C-suite members, CEOs or chief medical officers or chief nursing officers. But if you run those numbers, that's only about 20%. The rest are, an individual who joins ACHE, if they're professionally working, usually a manager or above. But we do have a tremendous student contingent as well. We invite students who are either undergraduates or graduates who are trying to become healthcare professionals at some point. They're invited to be members of ACHE as well. And we have tremendous programs to help those students, even from the very beginnings of their career, make a difference and become trained and receive education. And even more importantly, perhaps, have a networking opportunities. When we have events, we'll have an event that's open to all. So we'll have C-level executives, vice presidents, managers there, and we'll have students there. And we really encourage, and many times we'll even have the students mark on their name tags that they are students. And our members are trained and are willing to speak with these individuals because they understand that these individuals are the future of healthcare. And so there is an encouragement for these for these individuals who have very large roles in the organizations in which they're working to help, to give back, to mentor. I'll give you an example. I am currently in the mentor program. I'm a mentor. I've been a mentor for many years, and we'll get into this when we cover my own work history. But at one point, I was the chief strategy officer of a $5 billion health system. And even when I was in that role, I offered to be a mentor to younger ACHE members or individuals who are newer in their career, and to help and mentor them along, network, provide opportunities, give them some encouragement in their roles. That is the essence of who we are as ACHE, is those who are perhaps a little farther ahead in their career, reaching out to individuals who are newer in their career or perhaps haven't even started yet because they're students, and enabling them to become successful in this business of healthcare.
I mentioned I'm in the shallow end of the pool. And by that, I'm trying to get a little bit more involved. And just this year, just recently, I signed up for the mentoring program through the American College of Healthcare Executives. And a lot of vetting went through that process. It took a while to get all the information collected, but it's beneficial both for the emerging leaders and also the seasoned professionals because there's mutually beneficial relationships there. I really believe that to be true. I'll be paired up with more of a senior executive because I've had many years of experience, and like we like to say in some of our classes, that knowledge is just a collection of scar tissue. And so we've all got our fair share of scar tissue here. And to help other people really understand and see the perspective that can help them professionally develop. Boy, I know when I was a young college student, I didn't have any direction or idea. No organizations like this I was aware of. So to reach out and find leaders that are willing to provide that guidance and support and that extra professional development, I think that is one of the strongest elements of an organization, like you mentioned. So I'm glad to see that. Kind of moving on a little bit here in terms of other opportunities. You guys have work that you do with consultants. Do you have a consultants forum?
We do. We have forums that actually touch on the individuals in different parts of the healthcare continuum. I think recently, University of Texas at Dallas, you guys hosted a physician forum. This is a forum specifically focused at ACHE on physicians. We do have one for consultants. We have ones for, groups that meet. For example, our North Texas chapter is the most diverse chapter in all of ACHE. When you look at our numbers and our statistics of the different races and ethnicities that we have, we are by far the most diverse chapter in the entire nation. And so we have forums specifically to help those who are underrepresented minorities to receive help and support in their careers as well. And so we try to have groups where we can actually provide not only education, training, and support at whatever stage of their career they're at. So for example, I'll just, for one moment, mention your experience in the mentorship program. The reason why there was such a significant vetting process was because we really want to understand what your goals were and what your needs are. And of course, you as an educator, your needs were to be paired with someone who was more senior so that you could actually enhance your understanding of healthcare from that perspective. For example, in my case, I was paired with someone who is a little bit newer in their career because that individual was seeking guidance and help and mentorship for certain goals. And when they looked at my background, they said, okay, you are very well paired with this person. I will tell you that every year that I've received my mentee, I've been amazed at how well we clicked together. And that vetting process was very important. So whether it's in a global forum, like the one you're mentioning, where we have a forum for consultants to come in or a forum for physicians to come in, or whether it's a one-on-one interaction, we try to provide the highest and best interaction for our members as possible so they can maximize their time. Look, time is precious. Time is a resource and it's an investment for our people. And we want to make sure they get the highest return on that investment of time as possible.
This episode is brought to you by the Center for Healthcare Leadership and Management, the definitive resource for healthcare management education in North Texas. The The center is based in the Naveen Jindal School of Management at the University of Texas at Dallas. It plays a unique role in training the next generation of healthcare leaders to meet local, regional, and national demands. The Jindal School uses its strengths in accounting, administration, finance, marketing, and information systems to educate highly qualified personnel for healthcare administration and executive leadership positions. The center is home to 7 healthcare leadership and management programs, including undergraduate and graduate programs, as well as executive programs for physicians and working professionals. For more information, visit us online at jindal.utdallas.edu/healthcare.
You've got a program, and you hear this a lot, and you see it a lot on the demarcation. You're a fellow of ACHE. Tell us about the fellow program, the fellowship program. What's involved with that, and how it works, and the benefit that people get from that?
Sure. No, I'd be happy to. In fact, it's one of the most exciting things that I would invite any of our listeners to consider, especially those who are current members of ACHE or those who aspire to become our members. There's a special designation called a fellow, an ACHE fellow. To receive that designation, when you're a member of ACHE, there's a series of requirements. One set of requirements are education requirements. Because we are a training and education organization, it's a credentialing process, no different than, for example, my daughter, who is an accountant, who has her master's in accounting. Once she certifies as a CPA, there are continuing education credits that are required to maintain her status as a certified public accountant. In ACHE, to maintain your status to either achieve or even renew your status as a fellow, there are continuing education requirements. For the very purpose that you mentioned, Bob, all of us receive a baseline education when we're in our university time. But as you know, the business of healthcare is dynamic and changing. There are new things happening all the time. And we at ACHE develop educational content to address those needs and to ensure that our members are the most current possible in the significant issues that are facing healthcare. And so we require an educational component, not only to first receive your fellow, but then every 3 years, you're required to renew that to maintain your fellow status. And that enables our members and their employers. For example, if you have an employee that has a fellow status, you can be assured that that employee is most current on the major issues that are facing healthcare. What an advantage for employers to have that. Just like an employer of an accounting firm would know that if someone is a currently credentialed CPA, they are current in their education. It's very similar. So there's this education component. There's also a service component. We require individuals who receive their fellow status to serve not only their local chapter or the national chapter of ACHE, but their community. There's community service requirements. And there are many different ways an individual can complete those requirements. And then finally, for the first time that you receive your fellow, there's an exam that one takes. And we actually have training courses to help. And that exam covers all the major things you would expect someone who is credentialed as a healthcare executive to have. They're trained in business ideas. They're trained in some of the regulatory issues. As you know, healthcare is a highly, highly regulated industry. And so we require members to have a baseline familiarity with the major regulations in healthcare. There are other issues around clinical issues. Even if you are not a clinician, we expect all our members to have a baseline understanding of clinical, because no matter where you work in healthcare, we understand that we are working and affecting the lives of human beings. And those lives can be negatively affected if we do things poorly. So we expect our members to understand that component of their role, irrespective of where they work in the healthcare industry. And so if an individual, it's a pass-fail, similar to a CPA exam. And if you pass that exam, if you have your community service hours, if you have your education credits, then you can be certified as a fellow of ACHE. And then every 3 years, you recertified by having more continuing education credits and more community and chapter service. You don't have to take the exam again. That's just a one-time thing.
I tell you what, I like everything you said there. You know, there's a need. The need is so huge because of this healthcare world that we've created. We like to use this word kludgeocracy. We think healthcare is a kludgeocracy. And if you looked up the definition of a kludge, it would say it's an ill-assorted collection of parts assembled to fulfill a particular purpose. And another definition would be that it's a workaround, a quick and dirty solution that's clumsy, inelegant, inefficient, difficult to extend, and hard to maintain. And when you think of the healthcare system that we all participate in, there's a lot of those elements in there. And the only way that you can really help in that environment is by lifelong learning. being able to continuously adapt and move forward. I know that you personally are a big advocate of value-based education in the healthcare world. And the fact that we're all trying to be patient-centric, really eliminate safety events and get patient harm out of the way. All these things are really part of that fellowship education. And so I like the fact that it is a validation and a certification. So I'd like to shift the conversation a little bit here. I think we've done a pretty good job of getting people familiar. We'd like them to learn more, and we'll have a posting here where they can go to your website and learn more and get involved, from the students, from the mentoring, from the executives at all different levels. Tell me, Aaron, how did you get involved with it? Give me a little bit about your background, because I know that, we could spend the whole time talking about some of the transformational leadership things that you've been involved with. And I know that you have podcasts for ACHE as well. And I think you were featured on one of those. I think it was episode 72, Strategic Leadership Thinking in Healthcare. So tell me, how did you go from early on engineering into your role as a healthcare executive?
Sure. No, happy to do that. As you know, careers are interesting and living things. They don't always progress as you perhaps had them envisioned when you were 18 heading into college. I always had the intent. My mom worked in hospitals her whole life, and I grew up around hospitals and individuals who were clinicians, physicians, and had an aspiration, younger in my life, to become a physician. I really loved chemistry, loved math. So I decided to major in chemical engineering. I thought, okay, I'll put math and chemistry together, and then that seems great. I'll take all the OChems and all the prerequisites that are required for medical school, and it'll be a great time. And I did that. I received my bachelor's and first master's degree in chemical engineering. Well, something changed along the way. I kind of realized that I didn't like some of the biology and other classes as much as I liked the engineering and the problem solving. What I figured out about myself, and I think life is a period of discovery about yourself, I liked figuring problems out more than I liked memorizing things. And so much of medical school, for very good reasons, is memorizing things. It still is problem solving. There's no doubt about that. But I really got enamored with the problem solving piece of my career. And so I started, a career with a large chemical company. And along the way, decided I liked the business side of it. So went back to business school, and a good family friend who was an administrator at Memorial Hermann said, I think you would really love hospital administration. Why don't you come to my hospital and I'll show you what I do for a living? And that just did it for me. I thought, this is fantastic. I think this is a phenomenal way. I kind of renewed that interest in the medical field and the healthcare field, but I didn't even know what being a healthcare administrator was about. And when he showed me what I could do and still be involved in this great business of healthcare, I decided I was going to do that. So when I was going to business school at the University of Texas at Austin, I started interviewing with various healthcare organizations. And where I ended up going with a very large consulting group called the Boston Consulting Group, because I figured I needed a kind of a break between being an engineer and then becoming a business person. And they were doing work with large health systems, and the individual who was leading that work was here in the Dallas office. So I decided to move to Dallas and take the job with that office so that I could do healthcare work. And that's where I cut my teeth on healthcare. And I'll tell you a story. Just this week, I went back to a health system. It was one of the first health system I ever worked with as a consultant. I went back and paid a visit to my old friends there, the person who's now the chief strategy officer and a person who's the chief transformation officer there, who at the time I was a junior consultant and they were all junior executives. Now we all moved on in our career, and 17 years later, we're all more senior. And we sat and just talked about those times. And I talked about how much I learned from them and how much I appreciated learning about healthcare. I really cut my teeth on how healthcare works, as working with them. Well, after that period as a consultant, I had the good fortune of receiving an offer to join a large health system here in Dallas called Texas Health Resources in their strategy group. And just had a phenomenal experience. I was there for almost a decade. And when I left, I had been promoted into the chief strategy officer position. I had the very good privilege of working with the tremendous executives in that organization. And I will tell you that there is a lot of coordination and collaboration with other health system executives in the area. And when I came there, because I had not grown up in healthcare, I was introduced to ACHE and it said, hey, you should join ACHE because you are on this kind of fast learning curve about how healthcare works. This would be a great place for you to learn. which I agreed with. So I joined ACHE, pursued my fellow because I felt like I really needed to get that education and that credentialing in the industry because of where my history had been. And that began my path in down this road in healthcare. And it's been a phenomenal and in a very, I think, blessed path for me. A career is marked by with a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill. And feel very fortunate for the opportunities that I've been given and for what ACHE was able to give me as I progressed and learned and did some tremendous things while at THR. And then now I'm back in consulting. I'm back working with large healthcare systems across the country. And I feel very good because I was able to take that almost decades worth of learning and now help and give back to other systems. Now I am a paid consultant, so it's not pro bono, although I do some pro bono work. I'm working with a nonprofit in Chicago right now on their strategy, which is just a great experience. But I feel so blessed to be able to go back and help other health systems learn it and improve what they do as I help them with the issues that they're facing in their market.
That is a great story. I'm looking at the ACHE website, and they say this, and this is what you just told me. We connect you. We help you succeed. We provide lifelong learning. We help you advance. We foster leadership excellence. And every aspect of what you just talked about kind of fits into that. The one that's most impressive, though, I'm a lifelong learner, and I know you are too, Aaron. I was 60 years old when I started my PhD program, and that was 10 years ago. And, I went from engineering in 1975 to a master's degree in 2011, and then in 2018 going to PhD. You are currently pursuing a doctorate. Tell me about that.
No, I am. I have the good fortune of being in the doctoral program at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. It is a tremendous organization. I feel blessed to be there. And maybe I'll tell you the story of how that came about. I always wanted to, again, credentialize myself and make sure I was founded in healthcare education. And Texas Health Resources hires a lot of people from Trinity University in their healthcare administration program. And there was a professor there that needed a sabbatical and said, "Hey, I'd love to spend some time with your strategy team to learn from you guys." And he spent his summer sabbatical with us, and I got to know him. And he asked me, have you ever thought about going and getting your doctorate? And I hadn't really thought about it. I thought, hey, let me look at this a little bit. Well, I finally decided that it was the right time for me to do that. Of course, I was like you, older in my career, past 50 years old when I decided to do that. And I reached back out to this individual and said, "Hey, would you be a recommender for me to join that University of Alabama at Birmingham program?" And he said he'd be happy to. And so I've been in the program 2 years. I'm just completing my classes, and I'll start my dissertation this fall. And it's been a tremendous, tremendous learning for me to continue that educational process and pick a subject in my dissertation work that would allow me to really become an expert in a certain part of the healthcare continuum that would enable me to go back and now help my clients and other health systems really understand the system better or the ecosystem better as well.
I'll tell you what, that story doesn't end. It keeps on going. It is a lifelong adventure, and it's great to be in an area where we can do that. That's really a wonderful scenario that you just described. We'll kind of close things up. There's a great synergy here. The things that ACHE does parallel so much to what we're trying to do here at the University of Texas, Dallas. We have a variety of programs from undergraduate to graduate to executive ed. And we all have that common theme that we're trying to develop the next generation of healthcare leadership in this really complicated world. So I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. We being the University of Texas, Dallas, look forward to continue our relationship with ACHE under your leadership. We know that there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of mutual benefit that we can work on together as we try to move this whole complex world into more of a steady state situation. So Aaron, any last thoughts from you?
Sure. Can I just express my appreciation to you, Bob, and all the folks, all the educators there at the University of Texas at Dallas for what you're doing. We've had teams from your university participate in our student case competition. They've done well. They're well trained. We appreciate the education that you're giving these wonderful individuals who will become future healthcare leaders. I myself am an adjunct professor down at Trinity University and understand it and appreciate the privilege it is of working with students because I do deem it a privilege. I know you feel the same way. So just thank you. Thank you for what you're doing to educate the future leaders of healthcare. And we join with you at ACHE in trying to do our best to help you in that process.
Excellent. Thank you again, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Business of Healthcare podcast. To learn more about the Center for Healthcare Leadership and Management, go to jindal.utdallas.edu/healthcare.